How's everybody doing? Good? So my name is Jeff Siarto. Thank you for that amazing introduction, Michael. And I'm the co-founder of Loudpixel. This is my beautiful wife and business partner, Allie. And like Michael said, Loudpixel is a social media research company. And we look at trends and insights in social media and try to help our clients make sense of all that. So what Michael asked us to do today was to do a little bit of research into entrepreneurship. And we just want to show you guys what we found.
So we analyzed conversations in social media to figure out the culture of entrepreneurship through social media. We're particularly interested because we're from the Midwest. We started our business in Chicago and moved it to Michigan. We're really interested in the geography of this culture of entrepreneurship. The first thing that we did is we analyzed conversations around topics in entrepreneurship across the United States. We'd like to say the Midwest was the highlighted portion, but no big surprise. We've got kind of the East Coast, West Coast side. And I know this is a little bit small. We actually have this online for you to look at closer afterward, but let me just read through some of the top cities that we came across. Number one, and this is in kind of perceptions, this is the culture, so it's not necessarily the top cities based on actual activity, but we think that this data really correlates together, and it's interesting to see how the culture perpetuates what actually happens in reality. First, we had New York City, and then Silicon Valley, kind of as the general area, Washington, D.C., Miami, Chicago, Boston, Charlotte, San Diego, Atlanta, and L.A. And for others of you who may be interested in some of the kind of honorable mentions of those who also stood out, Seattle, Austin, Dallas, Houston, Portland, Denver, Philadelphia, Las Vegas, and Boulder. There are others. Come and chat if you want to find out where your state or city falls on that list. Next, we also thought that it's very interesting to look beyond just general conversations related to entrepreneurship. We wanted to look at people talking about events, actual in-person connections around entrepreneurship. Again, you can see New York City and San Francisco definitely dominate on this map. Something that's important to note here, this is looking at a snapshot in time in September. This is a really fluid conversation. It's always changing. So we see this as kind of a benchmark that we're going to compare against in the future. We'd like to see how that conversation shifts across time.
So the next thing we looked at were entrepreneurial role models. And the way we defined a role model were featured businesses or featured entrepreneurs. So these are the individuals and their companies that are kind of constantly in the media. So on your TechCrunch, on your VentureBeat, on your HuffPo, these are the companies and the people that we see all the time. And what we found is slightly discouraging, but not necessarily surprising. All of that is kind of concentrated on the coast. A lot of West Coast, Silicon Valley, San Francisco, a lot of East Coast, New York City, and then there's a smattering of South Florida down there for those that like the high humidity. And the problem that we see with this is that the lack of entrepreneurial role models, particularly in the Midwest and in Michigan where we're from, is a barrier for developing these entrepreneurs and these companies in that area. If they don't have people that they can look up to and see success stories from their local area, they're going to think the only way that they can become those success stories is to move to the coasts or to move to some of the more media-centric entrepreneurial hubs. And so we think it's important that the media and the entrepreneurial community develop those role models in different areas and not just on the coast so that we can, promote keeping these people in their areas. In particular, Michigan, we face a lot of what we call brain drain. So our top students, our top graduates, and our most talented people don't have the kind of opportunities they're looking for in Michigan, and they flee to the coast. They go to Chicago, they go to San Francisco, and they go to New York, and they leave kind of a vacuum in Michigan for those type of entrepreneurs.
And I think it's important to note with this, it's not that those role models don't exist in those areas, it's that it's kind of the chicken and egg. The media may perpetuate that these role models only exist in certain areas. And so for us, both personally, we ended up moving to Chicago because we didn't see role models in our personal area, and we thought that we could only be in the city, in those big places. And part of the reason that we moved back to Michigan, it wasn't because it was the place with the most opportunity for our business, it was because we wanted to be those role models in those places and help to show that vision to the younger entrepreneurs, to the next generation who may want to start their own business, to know that they can do it there, just to know that that's an option in general.
I'm going to quickly move through this because we're running out of time. This is the non-geographic outlook. So this is just the topics that kind of floated to the top in our research. And you can check them out here and also on the website afterwards. But tips for entrepreneurs, featured entrepreneurs, tech entrepreneurship, local events, and young entrepreneurs made the top 5 topics talked about. And you can catch me afterwards if you want a little more information as to like what those specifically mean.
Right. Again, this is really just scratching the surface. There's a lot of data here, so catch us after the fact. We'll have the URL where you can see the data up close online, and talk to us if you have any specific questions. We love to dive into this. We also looked at kind of general demographic breakdowns. So you can see that up here, but I want to go through a couple of interesting facts that we found when we really dug in. First of all, men were 150% more likely than women to talk about tech entrepreneurship. Men and women were equally likely to talk about lifestyle when it comes to entrepreneurship, the lifestyle of entrepreneurship. This one I thought was interesting. When it comes to, we looked at a sample set, a representative sample set, and within that sample set, when it comes to people who were talking about starting a business as a means to build wealth, to become wealthy, to get rich, 100% of the people who talked about starting a business to build wealth were men, no women. Similar, men were 166% more likely to talk about getting venture capital for funding their business than women, and women were 200% more likely to talk about getting a loan to start their business. And you can take this how you will, but I think that it's important for us to know that when we're talking to different audiences about entrepreneurship, there are different cultures around it and there are different goals. So we need to consider who we're talking to and how we're communicating this, depending on who the audience is. We can really shape it to that audience to encourage them and to teach them to reach the goals that they're looking to reach. I think we're out of time, but again, come and grab us and ask us if there are any other specific questions you have. We have tons of data around this, and we're hoping to do future studies to compare. We had a lot of fun. Thank you.